It's been fun to watch our students transform how they're using social media into a way that helps to brand them because that's the things we're starting to talk about in schools, especially with the guidance counselors and lessons to say, every time you put something out there, that's part of your footprint now, and you have to brand yourself. And so you get to decide what you look like on social media. And yes, your employers and your colleges are looking. So those are some of the conversations we have, and they're getting there. They're starting to really see that.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Cook. I'm the director of LCAP, Curriculum Instruction, Innovation, and Special Projects in Victor Valley Union High School District, which is halfway between Los Angeles and Las Vegas off the 15 freeway. We're in what's called the High Desert, and we serve a little over 11,500 students in 10 different schools.
Hi, my name is Michael Williford. This is the Superintendent of Human Resources in the Victor Valley Union High School District.
Thank you to both of you for being on today's episode. As we've discussed in past episodes, you're here to help inspire other district leaders so that they can nurture students to keep them safe on social media so they can someday shine online. Dr. Cook, I'm going to start with you first. Talk to us a little bit about your division at your school district and what's your biggest accomplishment as a district over the past 1 to 4 years?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for that, because there's so much that districts can do to support student learning and ensure that our students stay safe. I would say our biggest accomplishment is really diving deep into three things, only three areas that we're focusing on, which are essential standards, literacy, and getting our students A through G eligible, which is in California is eligible to attend our state colleges.
Yeah, that's excellent. Michael, back over to you. In your department, what's your biggest accomplishment that you'd like to talk about over the last 1 to 4 years?
One of the biggest accomplishments we have in human resources actually has been now taking that district vision of those three elements and now applying them to our hiring practices and making sure we're hiring the right people to make sure they're on the boat. We're looking at these certain areas that they're targeting. So, for example, we've changed our questions now, right, for our interview questions. Like, how would you use technology in the classroom? What kind of literacy components would you use in the classroom? We go out and we do different strategies now to make sure we're hiring what we need to meet what the kids need.
You know, I like what you just said, Michael, because I'm a huge business nerd and I read a lot of books. There's an old book called Good to Great. And I know all of our listeners here, the superintendents that are my friends, we've had over 110 superintendents on our podcast as of today's recording. We all are studying different industries so that we can support our customer, which is the kiddos, right? And I think we're all in agreement, build resilient kids so that when they're 25, they're ready for the real world to be employable, move out, so make their parents proud and all of us. And I really like what you just said on the ship. We call it at Smart Social, and I'm always talking about company culture. And I know every district is the same. The culture of the community, of the people have to be happy as district leaders, as educators, as principals, so that we can support those kiddos. There's a great book out there called Good to Great, and it says, who are you going to get on your bus? And your bus is going like, we're driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and we got to have the right people, get the right attitudes on the bus. And then we figure out where they sit, what seat they fit in. Some people are going to be drivers for a long time. Some are going to be navigators. Some are going to be sitting in the back looking for other rest stops. And I love that you just said that, because it really does come down to how great are the people that are supporting the people that are supporting the parents that are supporting the kiddos. I could go on and on. Okay, now let's dive into the next question. What advice do you have for other school districts to deal with social media issues that may originate on a social media app, but then create a very real problem on campus?
And before my job as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, I was actually the Director of Student Services. And as part of that position, of course, was actually dealing with a lot of concerns that would come in through social media apps, threats being made to school sites. And for that, the big thing I would make sure you have a strong relationship with either your law enforcement or your SRO department, because what we've been able to do a lot of the times, these threats against schools or threats against employees or even kids, is work in relationship in tandem with our law enforcement, who's got a lot more access to certain things that we do not have, and they're able to actually either validate threats and make sure that we keep things safe, or of course find out the threats as a hoax from somewhere else, and then we can actually then inform the community, inform the school setting, so they can actually get back to what's important, which is learning. So those are the things I would highly recommend, is that relationship, to have, making sure you have resources available to attack those pieces on social media.
Excellent. Doctor, do you want to chime in there too?
I would add to that one of the things I think we do well is work with our principals and ensure that they're aware kind of what's going on in terms of social media trends. And then really you need to talk with the kids about it. Kids need to understand what's going on, what's real, what's not real, and how to navigate social media in a way that's more positive for them than the negativity that can come from social media.
And then even to piggyback off of that, we actually even have on our websites too, we have like we tip lines. So we actually have kids who will report a lot of stuff that's coming through the community or on social media because we don't have access to every account.
Right.
And so we now have access to where we have kids who are concerned about their school environment and actually participating in keeping the school safe and being safe through social media.
Doctor, you said something I think is a great transition to the next question. Can you provide some possible examples of how your students in your community may have used their social media in a positive way, a productive way that may have benefited themselves, the school district, their family, their community, or in my favorite, how it gets them ready to launch into college, career, internships, and so on?
We're working with students, and I've seen a lot, especially with the athletics, right? Where students are really putting out their best selves onto social media. And that's what we talk about in our schools. And that's what I'm seeing some students do is this is my best self. This is who I want you to see. And it's not like, oh, I have this perfect life, but it's, hey, we just had a great win, or look what's happening at my school in a really positive way. And in this way, they're supporting not just what they do, but their community. It's been fun to watch our students kind of transform how they're using social media into a way that helps to brand them because that's the things we're starting to talk about in schools, especially like with the guidance counselors and lessons to say, every time you put something out there, that's part of your footprint now, and you have to brand yourself. And so you get to decide what you look like on social media. And yes, your employers and your colleges are looking. So those are some of the conversations we have, and they're getting there. They're starting to really see that.
We work with school districts all over the country, and we call that shining online. And a
Mhm.
lot of the districts that these days are managing that, teaching students are saying, "Hey, why don't we just show you how Instagram really works to build a portfolio?" Michael, can you dive in on a little bit here as well and your previous role at the district and your current role? What are you telling parents? How are you engaging them so that they can also inspire their kids on how to post in a positive way?
Well, one of the things that we did in my prior role was we had workshops. We have mental health clinicians and family engagement liaisons at all of our school sites. And so what we did, of course, in our district for the last couple of years is we've actually partnered those two programs at our sites with actually outside agencies, Daybreak Mental Health. And then what we do then is we do multiple workshops with families, like the mental health workshops where they're in a hybrid mode. So we'll have in person as well as with people who can log in through a virtual link as well and still get the same information. And then go over things as far as the impact of body image and social media, how to combat that, looking at ways to combat bullying, negativity, looking at body dysmorphia, and actually having a multiple prong attack on it to where we have mental health clinicians there, not just talking about the one avenue of like, keep your kids safe, don't do this, don't let them be on this app, but the kids are actually already involved in it. Here's how you can get them out of it. Here's how you can get them to not have the negative thoughts, not to be suicidal, not to have all these other negative impacts from social media and teach parents on how to get the help they need or support they need to overcome those avenues.
Yeah, it's an absolutely huge deal. It sounds great that you're doing that. So let's dive into that parent engagement. I wanted you to give some advice to parents. What suggestions do you have for parents to encourage their kids to use technology in a positive way, not just at home, but also in the classroom?
We work hard in, as Michael was just saying, in our district with our parents. I think oftentimes parents don't know the amazing opportunities that are out there in social media to support their children. I lead our artificial intelligence task force in our district. And one of the things we learned is a lot of research around how students are using AI. Teachers are worried kids are going to cheat. Kids are using AI to learn about mental health. They're using technology to learn how to improve themselves without us even telling them to. And so when we're working with parents, I think they need to understand your kids are doing this. They're on it. They're learning more. I mean, we all know our kids are digital natives more so than we are. And so educating our parents on, hey, this is what your kids are doing when they're home, when they're at school, when they're wherever they are at the mall or wherever. And so you need to first and foremost understand it a little better. So my advice to parents is get out there and understand it. Do not think it's going away because it's not, right? And learn about it. And then, mostly through your work, right? You'll see how you're positively branding. Your work is positively branding themselves through social media. And that's what they can translate to how to help their kids on social media.
And I can't reiterate enough what you just said, doctor. Parents that listening this all over the country, AI is your friend. We have some free monthly events called How to Become the Homework Hero Using AI. And what we mean by that is, parents, if you're ever frustrated that your kid comes home with a trig homework or calculus homework, you're like, wait, I haven't done this stuff in the past, or I don't know exactly how the subject and the verb and all this, I've forgotten this. I'm very good at writing memos at work or doing this, but I forget the dynamics. AI is there for you. Yes, people say it's really bad, but it actually doesn't just give your kids the answer. It shows you how to find it. And at the very end, it says, here is the answer, but it forces you to kind of read along. Gone are the days where we have to pay $50 an hour to a tutor. AI is
Mhm.
there for you for free. There is a $20 plan if you want to. It's per month, and it is so worth it, in our opinion. But I just love how you said that. It is helpful to us. It does a lot of things for us.
We need to remember that it is our friend and that if we use it as a friend and teach our kids to use it in a positive way, it's going to enrich our lives. And remembering that, not everything you learn on social media or on the internet is true, especially coming in big election coming up. Just learning how to look at items, whether it's on AI or on social media, to say, how do I know if this is true or not? And just start asking those questions. Those are the other things that we talk to kids about, and parents need to talk to their kids about. How do you know which is real and which isn't?
Yeah, yeah, discerning that. Michael, what
Mhm.
would your tips be to parents to encourage their kids to use technology, whether it's AI or even Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, especially YouTube, that benefits them as a lifelong learner? Once again, at home, because they're home more than they are in the school, and then also in the classroom. What are some of your ideas there?
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier about branding, right? As well as understanding how to get information out. For example, in human resources, we do a lot with having to go back and do some more social media searches on we're hiring employees. We're looking at things in our interview process. For example, one of our questions for teachers is, how would you actually use AI in the classroom? These things we're adding to the system that the kids, like as Dr. Cook said, are digital natives. You have to be able to show that in your element now, YouTube videos, on your social media, but also again, teaching kids and families how it's a pathway into the background check. I hate to say it that way, but it is. And you have to understand that what you put out there, as Dr. Cook says, a digital footprint. And so you want to make sure that when you're putting things out there, that they're researched correctly, that they're informed, they're what you want to have out there. Because we've seen recently, and definitely with sports figures and politicians, they posted 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were kids,
Yeah.
are now coming back to haunt them. Right. And they could have been misinformed back then. It could have been their ideology back then, but that's just a snapshot in time. And might not have all the information, misinformed, and they've grown as human beings. And so it's like making sure that parents and students and faculty and everybody understand that, yes, you can make mistakes in the past with social media and these components, but you have to make sure that you are moving forward as well with it because it can come back and it can come back and hurt you in the long run.
One of the things I was thinking about when Mr. Williford was talking is one of the parts of my job is I write our plan for our extra monies that we get for our higher needs students. One of my jobs is to go in and talk with parents. I talk to parents at every single school site. And then I also talk to them, anyone who comes to the district meetings. I talk to our English learner parents, and they always ask, help me more with social media, help me more with how I can either get my kid off it, right? How do I engage my student in another way? And the response really becomes, how do you help your student to use it in a way that helps them? And I think if we start rethinking that, I mean, I don't want anyone on a computer 24 hours a day, but you mentioned YouTube. I mean, that's an amazing learning. I think all of us have probably used YouTube to learn something, I would say, in the past 30 days. I know I have. So just thinking about social media in a different way.
Yeah. I want to pause for just a sec. First of all, thank you to our guests here today and to the many people watching here today that are part of our partnership school districts. Remember that YouTube, as the doctor just said, we like to say it can help you fix your car and play the guitar. and
Mhm.
everything in between. And there are experts there. While I'm best friends with my dad and he is very good at woodworking and stuff, there's always this old adage where your dad's like yelling at you saying, hold the flashlight correctly, right? It's all over social media. And while we're best friends, there are people there that are even better woodworkers than them that have put together 5-minute videos on how to do that. No matter what hat you want to wear in life, on YouTube, it really is, we believe,
Yes.
one of the world's best colleges that you can start using at a young age with parental supervision. Always get parental supervision at
Mhm.
everything that we're doing digitally until they're 18. It's always good to look over their shoulder, see who they're chatting with. So, doctor, I love that. I do encourage people go to YouTube, become an expert in that field, 3D printing, cooking, it doesn't matter. It's
Mhm.
all there. I want to dive into the next question. And I think this is really good for both of you to comment on. This is one of the biggest struggles nationwide, and maybe you have this figured out in your community, but a lot of people have questions. What are your suggestions for other districts to increase parent engagement? And a little bit of a follow-up question, are there any specific parent channels or events that get the biggest turnout?
I used to be a high school principal, and one of the things I learned and worked for me was as a school, I need to go where my parents are. Parents, especially now, their kids are, they're either a band parent, they're a soccer parent, they're a football parent, they're a theater parent, they're a CTE parent. They're going to meetings for what their students are doing in school. And so, as a leader of a school, I recommend that you go to where your parents are. If you need to have a table at a football game, if you want to talk to parents or get out there and meet with them in that way, get out in the community. If you're in a community where you have a community center that people meet at, if you have maybe a migrant population, they tend to meet in community centers on the weekends, then go there. You need to find them. Don't ask them to come to you all the time because some people aren't comfortable coming to you, not comfortable coming into school. So, one, you have to know your population of parents, and then once you know who they are, know where they're comfortable, and then find them. And the other thing I would say is Michael mentioned earlier that we have family engagement liaisons. They have done an amazing job of connecting with our parents and our families, having a welcoming place in the school for when they do come in.
I would even say to even our district's one, even last year, our family engagement liaison program actually won a Golden Bell Award, which was recognized by the state of California for being the best family engagement liaison program about bringing parents in. And so that was something that we did last year and we continue to work with this year. And as a result of that, we've created this environment now to where our engagement liaisons are doing things like having book studies with families. They bring in and do virtual meetings with folks. There are so many things that they are meeting the families at where they're at and their need is at, that we're getting more families to come onto campus. We've learned that it's hard and difficult, especially we're a high school district. So it seems like, kindergarten, every single body's there for every single event, right? Mom, dad, uncle, aunt, grandparent, at every single parent student event. And then as they kind of go through the process, right, they get to middle school, now it's just maybe mom and dad. And then they get to high school, maybe it's just one of the parents. And so it's really about trying to connect and capture those pieces because I think a lot of our parents are looking for that support and that need. And so by having these family engagement liaisons, they're able to recapture them and bring them in and give them the support they need to be a part of their kids' education again. Because, like you said, kids are taking calculus and these other subjects that their parents have made no clue about, so they disengage because they don't know how to support their children. By adding these components now, we can actually get kids to be involved and parents to be involved, so that everybody is successful together.
I love how you hit on the family engagement liaison. One quick pause. We have one more question for both of you. I'm so excited to ask you. Before we get to that, well, another shout out to all the school districts that are engaging our family engagement nights. Thank you to everybody. This week's events and next week's is all about the sneaky ways that video apps suck kids in and make them numb. We have both professional good ways to use video apps and bad ways, and we have real teams in the program. So for all of our partners, we have 30 plus teens every single year teaching our program. We're so grateful to everybody out there. To all the parents listening and watching, you can log in at smartsocial.com where your school district got you a free pass to learn from us all year long. 450 amazing resources that you're getting both in English, in Espanol, in Mandarin, and 10 other languages, word for word preservation. Thank you to everybody who's supporting us. in helping our incredible army of research parents do the amazing work for the many school districts we're working with. All right, we're on to the last question. And I think this is one of the most exciting ones. I think both of you are probably going to have a whole lot to say about this. I'm excited to hear what you have to offer. So, the first question, and Doctor, we're going to start with you. How is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT?
You're right. I am excited to answer this question. We have a task force, and what we did, which I think was, I don't know if it was different or not, but it was impactful, was we gathered a group of anyone who wanted to go, teachers, principals, our office staff, our union presidents, both of them, and directors and students, and brought them down to a training at our county office of ed on AI. Just an initial, what is it? What does it look like? How does it work? Things like that. And by having a student in that conversation was really impactful and powerful. So what we're doing is we're kind of building from the ground up. We've had 2 of those training sessions. We have a task force. I think a lot of people do that. We have a few teacher experts. So starting with a kind of a grassroots teachers and kids, and again, our office staff, they're using it a lot. And so they're learning, they're growing. We're going to work on some trainings, hopefully for the summer, with regards to things like Magic Bus and some of the tools out there that are strictly for educators. I just happened to have been at a conference where we talked a lot about AI and talked about our next steps as a district, thinking about you don't really want a policy around it because it's changing every 20 minutes. So your policy, as soon as it's board adopted, it's going to probably need to change, but more like a position statement. Like, what do we believe in with regards to AI? How does it support student learning? How does our education have to shift in order to really prepare our kids for their next steps? And that's our job as educators. I am really passionate about this topic, and I'm excited for the next steps of our task force to really look at how are we supporting our teachers so that they can support kids to understand misinformation, to use it in a way that will enhance their learning and make final products better, and then be ready because they're going to be using it in whatever industry they go into.
And I love what you just said about it really does come down to how does it support students? We back out of
Mhm.
that. How do we support the very teachers that are working day in and day out with the students? A lot of principals are writing letters with it. Principals and superintendents, if you're watching this, it is not cheating. If you give it a lot of data and you have it help you organize, because then a human really does need to rewrite it in their own terms a little bit, their own tone, if you will. Michael, I want to go back to you. I want you to speak on that. How are you using this from all the different aspects? And how are you seeing some of your district leaders and school site staff using AI?
They're definitely using it for a lot of different avenues from writing letters and memos and those kind of components. But the big thing we've been actually trying to do from the HR standpoint, though, is actually educating our folks on AI, how it's a tool, but you still have to go back and check it.
Yeah.
There was a case where we had an individual, they had, ran a query on something, a letter they wanted to write, and they wanted some legal facts to be included in it. Well, the AI couldn't find actually any legal facts, so it made some legal facts up and inserted it into the letter. And so luckily we pre-approved some of these things before they go out to the public. And we kind of told our person like, hey, this doesn't exist. Like you need to go back and I get, you're trusting the AI, but you have to understand that the AI is a tool. It's only going to be able to do what it's been asked to do or the information it's been given. So you need to really make sure you go back into it and address it. And again, like you talked about, give it your own tone, give it your own pieces of it. So we've been doing a lot of education and training with our staff to make sure that board briefs and stuff that goes public or live, that we're really going back and analyzing it to make sure it's meeting our needs. So we're not accidentally doing disinformation or giving out information that's going to actually hurt us in the long run. That's one component. Another level too is actually, helping teachers understand they can use AI to build lesson plans. Like that's actually gonna be able to cut some of their time off. But again, though, you have to go back and double check to make sure that your AI tool you're using is not bringing things in that are not that they're the right grade level, they're above the grade level, they're not even like they're another state standard, not California standard. So like just teaching folks on how to use these tools correctly to make sure that they're being applied for what our kids need and what our staff needs.
Yeah. And to all the parents watching right now, there are three major tools that we teach every single month. There's Gemini, which is the new Google Bard. There is ChatGPT, which we've all heard of. It's been on the news. It's been out about a year and a half or so. And that is owned by OpenAI. And then there's also another one called Claude. Claude is pretty neat. And you can get a pro version of these for about $20. The free version is phenomenal. I want to give everybody one quick example before we wrap up this episode. I sat down with my dad on Saturday night and we decided we want to go back to where our family fled from in Germany 250 years ago. We left Germany to come to America and stayed in another country for a while. And we went, you know what? Now's the time. Let's go back. And so my dad said, well, we're going to have to ask those friends that we know that speak German to do this, this, and this. And I said, Dad, let me show you. And we, for 2.5 to 3 hours, spent time on the couch. I put my computer up on the big display in the living room, projected it, and we had AI walk us through, well, this is where your family's from. And we were like, wow, that's in line with what we thought. And these are all the cemeteries where your ancestors are buried. And it started diving in deep. But as Michael just said, we're going to audit all of that. And it gave us ideas, land in this part of Europe and then take the high-speed train here, or you can fly. What I want to tell parents, and the reason why this is so personal and important is, parents, you're not just a corporate, you're not just writing letters. This helps every single family become the homework hero, plan the family vacation, find out where you're from a little bit. We're going to go audit it all and do real things and talk with real people. But boy, gave us a game plan, place to go. Hey, it's best to rent a car to go here because of this. And we teach all that every month. We don't want to just talk about it and make it vague. Like, how does AI get started? That was my dad's question, is where do you go to get AI? Join us at our free events each month, absolutely free. Just put your email in and you're going to learn not only how to plan a family vacation, how to do research on where you're from and what your last name means, but also to be that homework hero for your kids. Parents, I want you to consider sitting side by side with your kiddos. Use the new tool and let your kids go, wow. And you're both partners in this, learning together. Remember, don't be so hard on yourself. If you ever find yourself saying, I'm not good at Snapchat, Josh, I'm not good at TikTok, these kids are so much better, I want you to tweak those words just a little and say, I'm learning Snapchat. I'm learning social media. I'm diving out of there. Let's not be hard on ourselves, just like we would correct our kids and say, be nicer to yourself. Let's not hurt our own feelings there. Let's be positive. Parents, you've got everything you need, and we at Smart Social are here to help. Thank you to my lovely guests here today for all that they're doing to nurture resilient students so that when they're 25, they're ready to launch into the world using the digital tools that we give them. We're so excited. For all of you watching today, thank you for the support. And as my title of my book says, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite online because our kids are watching. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.